and your designs rather, they resonate that, which is absolutely amazing. Thank you so much, Doreen. Let me just see if there's anyone on the floor who would like to ask her a question. You have 3 minutes, a minute to ask her a question. Anyone in the room who thinks you want to ask Doreen anything about her fashion? She's told you where it is. Yesterday I was wearing one of your pieces as I was walking around Zanzibar, nice and cool in my little DM outfit. And here comes Austin. Not for me? Okay. Okay, we have a question over there. Oh, we've got 2 questions. Superb.
Good day, Doreen. Miguel Pilgrim Group, and I think we talked yesterday. I kind of have a fleggling men's clothing shirt line. Taller? Okay, absolutely. I thought I was, for the pictures, okay. Hello, Doreen. Hello. And I was just curious as to what was the big step from being local to being international? Was there something that occurred, or you realized, wow, I have a brand that, or was it always your idea, I want to be over the continent?
To be honest, when I started the brand, I started it in Zanzibar, and you have to understand that Zanzibar is already international because Zanzibar has an influx of tourists, so everything that we sell is exported. In fact, we sell almost 98% of our merchandise, we export. This means that there's footage of tourists coming in and shopping with us. So we are already international. But what actually made me take off was on the first week, I had a curator from the Metropolitan Museum of New York, and she went crazy about what we were doing, and she loved what we were doing. So she immediately introduced me to the merchandise team in New York, and that's when we exported further, like, you know, in volumes. And thereafter, I really never had a moment where I thought, oh, now it's international, no. But I believe if I was based on the mainland, like Dar es Salaam, I would be feeling much more local. But here, it's like 98% all tourists, all export, which obviously can put a brand a bit in a, how do you say, threatening situation when it comes to, for example, like the pandemic.
Bharat Merchant. I'm chairman of Dennis Green. Dennis Green is a company in Denmark. So we offer a green finance. And this year, after COP27 summit, $350 billion of green finance will be raised for next 12 months under all ESG project. So here, my one question to you is that you are aware under African Growth Act, all the African countries, including Zanzibar, you have a 0% import duty in USA, and you have 0% import duty in European Union. African Growth Act will be withdrawn in 2025. So I am coming back where Afri-Exim Bank is doing a lot of efforts, particularly for ECAFTA. So right now in South Africa, the import duty is 50%, 50. And we are already exporting from India, and we are already under negotiation with Tanzania, with Mauritius, that this 50% duty will be saved, and we have a large order of 100,000 jeans from South Africa, and similarly large order for the shirts. So I have to come, visit, see your setup, and then understand the formula of the value addition, which is very, very important. And then the entire world is the market with zero duty, and the similar world is the market under the ECAFTA. Because even Nigeria and most of the African countries also, they have very heavy duty. They have even higher duty than US and Europe. So we look forward, and we can offer all the supports, including we can offer financing support from EKF. EKF is the Danish financing agency, and they do the 95% financing, and they support all the green sectors and greenfield. Thank you. Good day.
Thank you very much.
Okay, gentlemen, I'm sure that is not a question, but you have sort of laid out an opportunity for Doreen Mashika to take advantage of.
Yes, actually, Doreen Mashika is aware that we actually have duty-free to export. We have the Euro 99, if not mistaken, to Europe. So yes, I do explore those. Whenever we have very large volumes, I actually manufacture across Africa. So yes, I'm aware, and they do all the paperwork for the exports. But yes, I will come to you, definitely.
Thank you. I would like right now to hear, before I come to you, oh God, the hands are going up. Do I have permission? I've got at least 6 hands at the back. Do I have permission from you, boss? Let's go. And I have to prepare a Frexim Bank. I have a final question for you, Team of Frexim Bank. So, right.
Okay.
So-
Hi, Doreen. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Who has the mic? Oh, okay.
Okay. I'm Adrian George from Unique Touch Company. It's an event organizer company. My question to you, Doreen, very important, and I need you to get back to all of us. We all know that in Dar es Salaam, mainland, there is a Swahili Fashion Week, and I think from Mustafa Hassan Ali. And this December, they will celebrate 15 years of Swahili Fashion Week. Do you have any idea of inspiring other fashion designers from Africa and from Zanzibar as well, so that Zanzibar will have something like Zanzibar Fashion Week? And I think it will inspire others to get the support from Afrexim Bank and other banks to do something like to up.
Never could take off again. But I'm always open to inspire other designers. I get emails and I always open my door and I speak to them and I inspire them. So I also participated at Swahili Fashion Week. This year, unfortunately or fortunately, I'm heading to Morocco. I am not a very large company. I don't really have resources to be a designer and to be a mother and to be a wife and also run a big show. Therefore, I would be really happy if those designers would come to me and say what you said to me, and that we could have division of labor and try and pull off a fashion week. At the moment, it's almost very difficult to do so due to financial reasons.
Thank you so much for your answer, Doreen. And I think the next panel, which is one of the panels that we're going to have this morning, is going to explore further on the kind of opportunities that could be available, not just from Afrexim Bank, but also from the local banks that can support businesses such as yours. So we'll have a more opportunity to talk deeper on what you've just said, sir. Is that okay? Yes. Thank you very much. And we have a question right here.
Yes, thank you very much. I want to... Okay. Yeah, thank you very much, and I want to appreciate Doreen for excellent presentation. My two questions. One is on the... Doreen, are you aware about the protocol on women in trade, especially to take advantage of the CFTA? The second one is, what are the challenges for you to pass on the knowledge, especially on the design, to other women in Africa?
Comes to passing over the knowledge, we do this through our production. I have women that I work with offsite. Most of them are, how would you say, they can't read or write, but still I give them that opportunity to work with us, and I still think that they're talented because they have this craft which I really support and I like to preserve, and you will find it in our garments, so they get to do that. Of course, there's I would just say the Canex Alliance, Fashion Alliance that we have formed. We are actually 3 women and 1 man. Of course, we are the finders and founders, and the rest are also part of our team. Around soon there'll be 120 designers across Africa, so that's also part of sharing. I hope I answered your question.
Yes. However, you raised a very important question, sir, and that is about the ability or lack of for African businesses to take advantage of AfTA. This conversation has been happening forever in Africa, but show me one business person that actually understands it. There isn't one that I know of. Maybe there is. So we have to break down this whole Africa continental free trade area thing into a language that we as business owners can understand. Otherwise, it will remain to be a theory that is spoken in spaces and doesn't trickle down to the actual traders. So I think, that is something that, this is a challenge to all the financial institutions that are here, to anyone who's an expert in the AfTA. Please let it not be a conversation that is spoken in large circles. Let the business owners themselves understand what it means and how they can take advantage of it. Otherwise, the dream that Afrexim have of opening up the doors for intra-Africa trade, it's just not going to happen. So yeah, this is why.
One thing I think I'd never answered is challenges that we face. Just to add on, like any other business, I think we produce. So obviously, when you don't really have constant power, this actually can delay production. It increases your cost because you're using generators. So these are typically the challenges that we face. I think any factory would face that if that occurs often. The other thing is obviously also manpower. Not everyone can support me because there is no fashion school or people with such a discipline. So I find myself doing quite a lot, and I feel as if maybe it would have been easier if I would have been based in a place where there is an industry. Where there is a support system for textile. So right now we don't really have like production of zips or production of buttons, threads. All that is imported. So if you operate in a place, in a destination where there is no industry, you become naturally very expensive.
So that's an opportunity right there for any investor. Zips and buttons, who would have thought that would be a challenge? The very buttons that we all have in our garments and the zips, we have to import them. Okay, food for thought there, right? We have one last question from yourself, Austin. Nakupa upendeleo.
And I hope it's not a bribe that I add you more time. Doreen, for me, is first and foremost to congratulate you. It's not just about knowing the game, but being the game, which is what you're demonstrating. And I'm happy that Doris picked it up from your early days as a child, and I'm happy, and it's an inspiration to many of us. My question to you is, as now an Afri-Exim Bank ambassador, I would really wish to know, and this question also was asked yesterday, again, Doris just flipped about it, but I'm not sure if I grasped it, did they approach you? Did you approach them? How much time did it take for the funds or for the finance to reach to you? Is there any other support that they give to you? Maybe linkages or maybe capacity building of a sort. You've mentioned of the challenges. Have you raised it up with them to see how best they can support to address these challenges? So speak to young and aspiring SMEs and businesses and startups that are here, or those who are following this session, and tell them Afri-Exim Bank reached out to me, or I reached out to them. It took 2 weeks before I had the finances, but they also did 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm happy and looking forward to hearing and learning and passing the good message from an ambassador. Thank you.
Thank you. Afri-Exim Bank reached out to me through social media, and that was via a Geneva-based company called Lulubelle Group. Lulubelle Group, what she does is basically she supports African talent through her own passion. And she had come into contact with the Afri-Exim Bank and told her of her idea of how she sees how how the bank could monetize what we're doing, and they were quite convinced. So Lulubelle Group started seeking for African-based designers and those in diaspora. And typically I responded really quick, and within less than 8 weeks we were actually in Portugal. We all had to produce a collection and present it. When we were in Portugal, we met, as I said, people and companies that I would never have dreamt to meet. They were all there looking at our collection because we were 20 designers and supposedly presented to be the best designers. After that, we had a one-to-one discussion with the president of Afri-Exim Bank, Mr. Orama himself. That again in itself was a huge blow for me because I have had beneficiaries before and I'll never have such contact. But Dr. Orama, the president of Afri-Exim Bank, sat with us 20 and said, we want to help you financially, but we want to know who you are. What do you need from us? So obviously, most of the companies, typically, we were all prepared. We told him, we spoke for almost 2 hours, telling him our challenges, the opportunities, and how fashion works. And from there on, they had advised us that we come up with like a group, a consortium, because Afrexim Bank doesn't give like maybe like 20,000 or 300,000. They actually start from a very high amount. So we sat together, we all came with our challenges and obviously what we needed to expand, including capacity building, including maybe synergies that we could form, and the bank really liked it. So right now we are in the process of forming the African Fashion Alliance, and the idea is to have the African designers under one umbrella so that we can get a fund. Okay, as you heard yesterday, there's $1 billion US dollars for creatives and also for filmmakers, for music, and also for SMEs. That's reserved for us. So we, as African fashion designers, are another group that will benefit from that. As you know, the process is not like today to tomorrow. As you heard that also with the minister, the PS, that, it's a long process of discussion and identifying, which designers can make it, which not. So during this process, we proposed to them, let's not lose time. Let's start exporting, going to Paris, going to other markets, so that they can get to know us, like who loves us, how can we make money. And that was the opportunity that happened, and that's when we went to Paris recently, and we had a very successful event at the Tranoi show. I believe that right now it's at the stage that we need to wait for maybe half a year that the consortium is going to be formed, and that's when formally we're going to be able to get the financial support. But in between, remember, we had a capacity building, which I believe was definitely not, it was very expensive per person. And that was, as I said, they never promise and make you wait. While you're waiting, they're building you up, making you market ready. So when the opportunity comes, you just get better each time you go to a show. So far, that's what's been happening with Afrexim Bank. I don't know if I answered your question.
Lori, I'm giving you 5 more minutes to wrap up. Asante. Thank you. Yes, you have. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Doreen. We're learning a lot, and I hope the other people who are either watching.
Afrexim Bank has been looking at. When we actually started this creative support, I remember it was in 2017, we got a request from one lady based in the UK, and everybody was like, but we're a bank, we're Afrexim Bank, we don't do creatives. Yeah. And this lady in Ghana basically asked us to provide a grant, and 100,000 for us it was a lot. We were like, but we do banking. And the event was held under a tree, and some of my colleagues were like, are we not basically denting the reputation of the bank? But I was actually saying, this is what creative is all about. We need to support the small players. From then, based on that small engagement, we started developing a full strategy on how to support the creatives. And fast forward now to Doreen, we basically realized that for us to be able to support people in the creative industry, we needed to do more in terms of now creating an ecosystem that will ensure that small players, they are networked and linked to the big players. So we wanted them to be at a place where fashion happens. And when we looked at the first opportunity in Portugal, the Portugal Fashion Show, and
Thank you very much, Gaynmore, and we've learned a lot from that. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, once again, we have to call an end to our very informative session. Doreen, thank you so much, and again, congratulations. Wishing you all the best with your designs and your business. And yeah, I'll be coming this afternoon to get another piece from you.
Yes, please.
Yeah?
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, let's have a photo here with the lovely Doreen. We can leave this down here. Thank you.
Camera, watu wangu wa still picture. As they do, can we give them a big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for that very powerful fireside chat. Asante sana kwako Doris na kwako Doreen na kwa Afrexim Bank. Asante sana. Do you want to stay? It's you next, but do you want to stay? So before I invite Farida, all the panelists here, do you know? Few of them are here. Okay. Doris, do you want, let's call them by name if they're here, and we'll start. Else I will have a crash program.
I know, it's going to be horrendous, right?
Yes. So do we have, I'm told Mr. Kudakwesha is here. I saw him. Very good. Yes. Do we have Mr. Donald Sumari?
He's not here, but he's replaced by Prosper now.
Excellent. Prosper. Karibu sana. Do we have Mr. Moto Lugobi? Excellent. Do we have Dr. Estela Ngoma? Excellent. So all your panelists are here. So ladies and gentlemen, let's bring back to the stage Doris Robangira, as she is going to lead the discussion on global external shocks, financing for Africa's recovery. Naomba tumpigie makofi mengi tena kwake. Asante sana.
Thank you very much, and I come here again. I don't need to reintroduce myself. Austin, I feel like you've already introduced my panel, but let me introduce the session that we're going to be talking about here this morning. And it is entitled Global External Shocks and Financing for Africa's Recovery. A lot of questions have come up from Doreen's session about the financing that African businesses or trade need in order to scale up in the various sectors that they're operating in. And so this session will explore the financing options that are available to African investors to invest in regions such as Zanzibar. But then we will also discuss the opportunities and challenges of financing trade and investment in Africa, because it's not as simple as that ever. We want to be financed, but is it that simple? We need to be financed, but do banks want to finance our businesses? And this is what we're going to be talking about here. It is an honor for me, once again, to be moderating this session, and I have a very able and vibrant panel full of specialists in their area. And I think for now, let me just call you one by one as you get ready to come up. I'll start with you, Moto, because you sat right at the back. We have Mr. Moto Lugobi. He is an economist with the Central Bank of Tanzania, based right here in Zanzibar. Moto, karibu sana. Thank you. We also have Mrs. Stella Ngoma Hassan. She's the chairperson of the board of directors from the People's Bank of Zanzibar. So please, Estela, karibu sana. Could I have more mics? I need some mics here. Thank you. Also joining me on this panel is Mr. Prosper Nambaya. He's the director of corporate banking from CRDB Bank. Let's give him a hand of applause as he comes. Prosper, join me here. Thank you. Right here. And last but not least, Mr. Kudakwesha Matereke. He is the Regional Chief Operating Officer of East Africa Afrexim Bank. Thank you very much. Kuda? Thank you. Let's give him a hand of applause. Thank you very much. Do you have a mic there? Okay, you can have this one. Do you all have mics? You can use that one. Use this one. I need one more mic. One more mic. Where's my Okay. Thank you very much. To my panelists, a very warm welcome to you. We've spent countless hours just discussing what we're going to talk about today. So I'm sure it's all going to come out very well for the benefit of our delegates this morning. And just for the benefit of you, our delegates, we're going to have a chat this morning. It's going to be a discussion. So please be ready with your questions, be ready with your comments, so we can share with our panelists as well. So it's going to be a two-way traffic, okay? Thank you very much. So, as I have just introduced our session, financing is an issue, a big issue to our businesses and a big issue to the investors. Even if an investor would want to come and invest in Zanzibar, there's still some financing issues that need to take place. So let me just go right off and start with the very beginning. Because before a business becomes a multinational, it has to be an SME first. No tree began as, the oak tree did not begin as an oak tree. It started off as a little seed. So it's very important that we support our SMEs, we understand their value in the value chain, and we are there ready to support them. So I'll just float out the first question is, what are the challenges that SMEs face in Tanzania, in Zanzibar? And I imagine that would be an issue that it resonates across the board. It's not just unique to Tanzania and Zanzibar. We heard a little bit from our SME Doreen Mashika, but what do you think are the challenges that SMEs in Tanzania would face? And maybe I would like to ask that first to Prosper from CRDB. You are in a good position to talk about what SMEs, the challenges that an SME would face. Yes, Prosper? Mm-hmm. Is it on?
Hello, hello, hello.
We hear you. It's fine.
Hello, good morning again. Yeah, my name is Prosper, like said, from CRDB, Director of Corporate Banking. Let me just share my experience in terms of what is actually happening on the ground. For me, I can have like 2-3 main challenges. One of the key challenges have been security challenges. Most of these SMEs have good business, they have strong contracts, they have good ideas, but when you come to traditional way of banking, where you come to the bank, you're supposed to provide, let's say, a mortgage as security, as a key collateral. That's where the problem starts. So for us, as bank, we need to be a bit innovative, to support and see how best we can navigate. Maybe I can share some few ideas. With the support of the likes of Afrexim, we have managed to get, let's say, the likes of portfolio guarantees. We have managed to segment specific segments to reach out to them for specific support, the likes of women groups, women business, youth, startups, etc. The other challenge which I see from main SMEs in the country, we can't separate Zanzibar and the mainland, the challenges are the same, is the culture, banking culture. You find an SME getting huge contract. When they come to the bank, the first thing to onboard is KYC, know your customer. So by the time you're asking key details, who are the shareholders, who are the management, who actually, which company have done, let's say, this feasibility study, business plan for you, most of the gap is starting from there. You need to have recent, let's say, management accounts. You need to have business plan, business concept for the business to be viable. So the gaps actually start there. So they need a lot of support in terms of putting all requirements, bankable requirements in order. In that regard, also in terms of banking, the challenge is also on defaulting. A company comes getting good contracts. When you go to CRB, now it's a requirement from our central bank. Before onboarding any client, you need to look on the credit check. You might find a company now has got good contracts. When you go on the background, they have defaulted in 2-3 other banks. Their credit history is very poor. So I think the main challenge is to put our houses in order, so that when we get good support, we can also get good history to support our requirements.
Yeah.
I think I start there.
You have picked on a point that is very important. Thank you very much, Prosper. And that is one of an SME's track record as they start their business and as they begin to grow their business. The one issue that seems to be resonating over and over is the default from banks. What is it, apart from, of course, behavior? If I decide I'm not going to pay back my loan, that's a behavior. But what else do you think, and I will direct this question to you, Estella, what do you think are the main reasons why there's such a high default rate where lending is concerned? And please, Moto, you can chip in on this one because you are from BOT as well. Maybe you have some ideas on this.
Morning. The biggest problem we have is with defaulters. You know, when somebody wants a loan, they come in good faith.
Yeah.
And you believe them. You do the KYC, you do everything, you think like, okay, they're good to go. But immediately you give them that money, then that's when you create enemies. But that is not what we want as a bank. What we want is to have a perfect relationship with our customers, and we have a perfect M&E in place.
M&E is, for those who might not understand?
M&E is very, very important.
Monitoring and evaluation.
Yes, we have to monitor and evaluate you as you go until we make sure that the money comes back to us. But that is one of the things that is lacking. We need to do that in order for us to get these SMEs to go up. Because remember, the mighty oak started from the little acorns.
Exactly, yeah.
From Amazon to Zara, from Doreen Mashika to...
The needs of the SMEs. So we are emphasizing on that. And if we tell them if they have any challenges, the banks which they think they've come up with innovative product which can support the SMEs, let them bring, we can discuss, we can even change the regulation and the guideline in which they guide the banking or the lending practice in Tanzania. So that is something which can be discussed if they have a product which is not only good, but it's not compatible with the current regulations or guidelines.
Yeah, and I think while you're on, well, let's stay on that point, because regulators are not, really, historically, they have been seen to put policies and regulations that don't necessarily favor the end user. So you go to a bank seeking a facility of some kind, and then the bank will tell you, you need to have a collateral the size of Mount Kilimanjaro. When you ask them, I don't have that kind of collateral. Meanwhile, I need to still grow my business. And they will come back and say, look, not my issue, it's a BOT issue. What's happening over there? What regulations are you putting that make it so difficult for the bank to come down and do what Afrexim did and say, you know what, let me understand this business, let me understand this sector to be able to give them the support that they need? Do you think, what are your thoughts on that? Let me not ask you some difficult questions.
No, it is not difficult. The issue here, all regulations or act, whichever guidelines, is built on the existing products. The characteristics of the product which is the market. If the banks and any financial institution seems that it have any product which is not compatible with the existing rules and the regulation, it can bring it and it can be discussed. So the current one, the current guideline or regulation which exists in Tanzania, they are according to what is present in the market. But the market is dynamic. It is not static, as well as the regulations. So regulations, they change according to the banks, what kind of product, innovative product, which suits our people. It can be discussed and they can be changed accordingly. So it's not that the regulation which exists, they are not just static. They are dynamic, they can change. So any innovation which can support our people is welcomed.
Okay. Do you have any other thoughts here, maybe, Mr. Kuda? Do you have thoughts on that before we go on the next question? And anyone, please, Prosper, you can chip in as well.
It's a fairly, it may sound straightforward, the issue of clients defaulting on loans and our characterization of the behavior of small to medium enterprises. So I don't want to talk about willful defaulters because there's hardly anything you can do about somebody who goes out to procure a loan with no intention of repaying it. But I think there is some other issues that probably need to be understood better. Financial institutions also have to start learning how to lend to SMEs, because it's such an art. They do belong to that segment of clients that require nurturing, and we need to provide to them funding that is fit for purpose. Because if we don't do that, they can default. If you put too much restriction on the kind of lending, they need to default. But on the flip side, SMEs also need to learn how to play the game that big people play. Because if you intend to become a big player, you need to start becoming professional about the way you do things. Keeping books up to date, disclosing to your bank what challenges you are having before a problem happens, and also suggesting how you can improve in terms of the repayments under a facility, and sitting down with the bank in order to be understood. Because it's very easy to bash the banks, but the banks are not lending money that belongs to them. It's depositors' money. It needs to be protected. So there has to be some level of collaboration that is driven by the needs of the two sides on the lending equation. Yeah.
Absolutely, you've
Thank you.
touched on a very important point. You see, if you're on the small people's playing field, and now you want to go and play in the Premier League of business, you've got to learn the game. You've got to learn the rules, and a lot of SMEs probably don't do that. They don't take the initiative to learn, what do I need to do to grow my business further? How do I need to put my books in order, and what it is that I need to do? And that's a very valid point that you've raised. And I see Prosper there is nodding. Tell us, I mean, do you want to add on to that point? Because a lot of SMEs, we blame the banks, but meanwhile, it's a two-way traffic, yeah?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think I need to add from what Kuda said, and also the gentleman from the central bank. We as banks, we have becoming very innovative to navigate the risk portion of defaulting, also the lack of security part, where, for example, now we are offering products which are not traditional products. These are innovative products that we have come to in terms of SMEs that get contract. Let's say you have contract to supply to the likes of SGR, whatever. We do provide contract financing.
Right.
You have contract of, it's not even, the problem is not only for SMEs, just for the record's sake, even corporates, even big corporates. We have big contractors, they get contracts which they cannot fulfill using their securities. So we come with the contract financing. I have this contract, it's worth 10 billion. I need to fulfill, I need to have vehicles, operating costs, etc. We give you the advances for you to fulfill the requirements of the contract. When you get paid, you return the bank's money. We have products like supplier financing. For example, the huge brewery company, Tanzania Breweries, huge beverage company, Coca-Cola, they give contracts to supply inputs. If you have contract to supply to the likes of Coca-Cola, for example, I'm not mentioning specific, just for example, and then you have already delivered, and you are waiting for 30 days or 60 days to be paid, and still you need your operating costs to be met. We give you a portion of that money, and then our risk, you have to sign the tripartite agreement, so deed of assignment, where Coca-Cola accepts that Doris have supplied goods worth of 2 billion, but it takes us 60 days to get paid, 30 days to verify, 30 days to process payment. That period we can finance. You get contracts, that is contract financing, invoice discounting financing, supplier. We take risk on the supplier. And in that regard, the SME will not default, because when they paid, they pay back, etc. So those are the mitigations. Another thing, from the help of Afrexim, this is not even for SMEs, for huge corporate clients who have got huge contracts. For example, SGR and Nyerere Hydro. We have given guarantees to the government where these contractors are supposed to give guarantees. LCs to their suppliers to import steel, pipes, etc. But guess what? On the back of that, we don't need that contractor to bring in security. We go to Afrexim, they give us counter guarantees, counter LCs to support the local entrepreneurs, the local corporates, the local SMEs. So thanks to Afrexim, thanks to also the central bank, they have been very innovative to allow us bank. And then we also notify the central bank. This is the arrangement. There's no physical security, but this is how we mitigate the risk. They give us a go-ahead, no objection letter, and then we proceed.
Wonderful, fantastic. And I think thank you for that, Prosper. If you are an SME in this room, if you are a business owner, please take note of these pearls of wisdom. If you ever want to grow your business, it's not about how much you have, it's about how much you know. These are pearls of wisdom that can really help us to grow our business and begin to start trading amongst ourselves in the within Africa. If we don't have this knowledge, other business people, other investors will be coming in, and they're trading amongst themselves in Asia, in Europe, and in the Americas. But if as Africa we really want to say, we are trading amongst ourselves in Africa, we are promoting intra-African trade, these are the pearls of wisdom that we really must take note of. And I love my position as a moderator because I get to learn a lot of things, right? So, staying on that topic of intra-Africa trade and growing our businesses out of our own comfort countries and trading with each other in Africa, there are many challenges that come with that. One could be lack of knowledge for businesses. They don't have enough information. They don't have knowledge of what they need to do or how they need to do it. But another one is the issue of payments. Payments have to be easy. Ease of paying each other has got to be there. And I'd like to direct this question to you, Kuda, and then to Motobe as the regulator. We have heard about the PAPS, which is the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System. Talk to us about that. Why should I, as a business owner in Tanzania, care or know about this PAPS system?
Thank you very much. The Pan-African Payments and Settlement System, PAPS, we view it as part of a package of solutions. And my colleague who is in this group, Lizanne, will speak to you, I think, at some point about the Africa Trade Gateway. So we conceived PAPS as one of those solutions amongst some of the solutions we have for solving the challenging issues of access to information. So you'll find that we have got what we call the TRADA, where we try to provide information on the market. Then probably you secure a contract with somebody, you enter into an agreement, you now want to pay, that's when PAPS comes. So picture a situation where a trader in Tanzania, or Zanzibar for that matter, he has secured a contract to trade with somebody in Ghana. If you are to do it the normal way, you have to go to your bank and open maybe or apply to transfer money from your account in Tanzania to an account in Ghana. You'll probably be debiting your account in Tanzania shillings, which gets transferred via New York to go to Ghana, and the Ghanaian company or bank receives US dollars, which the local bank converts into Ghanaian cedi to pay for goods that you need. So if we are to be successful as Africans, and this is the thinking with Afrexim Bank, in the process globally, it's estimated that the continent is losing about $5 billion per annum through charges. And it's not viable. So the Pan-African payments and systems, or the Pan-African payment systems or settlement system allows us to have a system where we connect the payment systems in each and every region of Africa centrally, so that central banks can settle. Me as a trader in Tanzania, I will receive my Tanzanian shillings, and the buyer in Ghana will pay using his CD. At the end of the month, or a quarter, or at the end of 2 weeks, the two central banks settle the difference or the net between the two of the trades. So, for instance, if goods move that way for 1 million, and there's goods that move this way for 1.2 million, the 200,000 is what needs to be settled. So that's what the central banks settle.
And I imagine that would be...
And then just do the job of settling, and it will be more efficient, and without necessarily using third-party currencies. And this is what is important about PAPS. I must mention that it sounds theoretical, but it has been launched already.
Okay.
We have launched it in the Western Africa Monetary Zone, where there are 6 countries, trialed, tested, and trades have already happened under the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System. So PAPS is operating. The intention is that we do understand that to bring it closer to home, East Africa has its own payment system, and I think it's important that we clarify this point. So are we doing away with regional payment systems? The answer is no. We will build upon the regional payment systems, because if you have a payment system for East Africa, who does it talk to? It's just amongst East Africans. We want the payment system for East Africa to talk to the payment system in West Africa, and to talk to the SADC payment system. At the end of the day, they will then be integrated to the PAPS, which means that it's easy. You can have a trade between a central bank in East Africa settling with a central bank in North Africa, settling with a central bank in West Africa or in ECOWAS.
Right.
So that is the ultimate aim of the building blocks that will enable us to do transparent, digitally enabled payments, which takes away the need to be always transacting and wiring funds through New York and through London, for instance. So that's the intention of PAPS.
Yeah, it absolutely makes sense, because when you look at it on the outset, you might think it's only one bank cost or bank charges that I have to incur every time as a business I make a payment. But when you add that up over 365 days, it's a significant amount that we're losing.
It's a significant amount of money, but also look at it this way. How are our people trading currently? The gentlemen and women and ladies that we see traveling, holding cash or transferring funds in very unorthodox ways, sending money through long distance truck drivers, and I don't want to say other things in which the way money moves, it's not efficient at all. Or I carry my Tanzanian shillings, when I get to the border with another country, I change it into local currency and losing money in the process, and so many things. It's not efficient. So PAPS is the way in which we think we are enabling Africans, and besides, we're also making it transparent. Central banks can know what has been traded, and you don't have trade diversions in the process. So you can know what is being traded, because there's a lot of trade that is currently going on under the radar. We don't know what it is.
And I think, thank you for that. When we were talking, Moto and Stella, you had some very strong views about how trade is happening. You know, if traders' money is not going through the banks, yet they are still trading. What are your views on that one? We see it a lot. We're going to call it maybe informal business. Someone is running around with their cash in their pocket. or on mobile money or wherever else they're trading. What can you tell us about that motto from a central bank perspective? Is this good news to you when we have a system such as this? Is this good news to us as a central bank in Tanzania? Is it going to come as a threat to the system that we already have, or will it complement what we already have?
Thank you very much. One of the functions of the Bank of Tanzania as a central bank is to manage and supervise the national payment systems. So we welcome any idea which have the aim of facilitating trade, especially across Africa. That is very important. So for us, we are aware of the initiative of the AfroExim, and we have been participating in it in various ways, through region, and through East African, and through SADC. So there are still some issues which we are still discussing with our counterparts in East Africa and the SADC, how to look on that possibility of engaging this international payment which is being proposed by AfroExim. So we are aware of it, and once the time we have fulfilled all the requirement of being a good system, it will be launched or integrated within SADC or East Africa. So we are aware of it, and we welcome the idea because it's aimed to facilitate trade across Africa. So our SMZ, our traders, they don't lose money when they're transferring from one country to another through what we call exchange loss fluctuations. So they will be paying the same currency. So the losses which are now incurred across when they are transferring money from one country to another is going to be avoided. So it's a welcome idea. We are still discussing, and we hope it will go through.
We really hope that it does. And Estella, I'd like to bring that question to you as well. What are your views on that? Because coming from the People's Bank of Zanzibar, I'm sure you see a lot or not see a lot where trading is concerned. For me, I'm extremely passionate about African traders understanding the importance of us trading amongst each other. If COVID-19 didn't teach us anything, we should learn this, that when a crisis is happening somewhere else outside of our continent, the impact of that crisis should not affect us. We're okay, we're able and very capable of trading amongst each other so that our dependence on markets outside of Africa begins to lessen. What do you think about that? Is it something that is possible for Africa to begin to understand and take advantage of intra-trading amongst ourselves? Is that a dream or that will be realized? And if it must, what do we need to do?
It's very possible. COVID-19 taught us a lot of lessons. The trumpet was blown somewhere else, but we were doing the dancing down here. So Africa can do a lot. Look at doing business in Africa. We are told that Mauritius is #1, the easiest country where you can go and do business, start doing business. You register yourself in a few hours, in a day, everything is done, you're doing business already. Followed by Rwanda, and then Morocco. Why those three?
And yet we're 50 how many countries?
Hey, 50 something. But look at us, Tanzania, we're on number 26. We should make this idea of doing business in Africa easier, because we can cooperate, we can trade among ourselves. Intra-trade is very possible. Look at AfroExim taking up all those initiatives. We can do that. Payments being done using PAPs, that is something that we really need. We don't have the necessity to really wait for our LCs to go through the other side, and then they come back to us. That takes about 4 days for an LC to be cleared. So let's take advantage of the fact that we have AfroExim here trying to help this issue out, that we as African banks, we can actually speed this thing up, and we can do it together.
Absolutely, thank you so much. And if I resonate what my brother Gainmore said yesterday, that the Africa continental, rather free trade area is the game changer. If we continue to not understand what that's about, this dream or this vision of trading amongst ourselves is going to be very difficult to realize. So if I could ask you, and you can feel free to answer that as well, Prosper, do you believe that AfTA is a game changer? And if so, to what extent is it a game changer, and how can we take advantage of that?
Okay, I think for Afrexim Bank, the way we view intra-Africa trade is actually one of the reasons why the bank was established, to promote trade within the African continent. And we have tried to live that by fixing a few issues. I'll give you an example of what happened during the COVID. You remember when we were struggling to find face masks?
We remember.
Yeah, and we became innovative, but we formed what we called the Africa Medical Supplies Platform. So it was a platform where we allowed Africans to post on it the goods that they could supply, from PPEs, face masks, hand sanitizers, etc., so that people could go and access the goods on the same platform as Africans. So you could go, post what you have, and then actually go and make an order on the platform. And if you wanted funding, what kind of product you have, at what price, and then if you want to buy fertilizer products or any agrochemicals, you go on Artex, you order. So there's an order, quality is ascertained, there is payment that can be done by Afrexim Bank, logistics can be arranged, and financing can be arranged. We are seeking to do this as a way of promoting intra-Africa trade, where Africans have a platform where they can sell African goods, and Africans have the platform to buy from Africa. So to support intra-Africa trade, we are doing that digitally. Number one. Number two, we have a whole unit of the intra-Africa trade, and I think all commercial banks should now begin to wire themselves as to, I've been doing trade, I've been agnostic as to where the goods are coming from, but can we have somebody who is looking at supplying goods of this category on the African continent, and encouraging those suppliers to also make themselves available to supply goods on the African continent. We take with us large corporates willing to do business on the African continent. We provide them guarantees to open up shop on the African continent. We have done that with a few large corporates. We give facilities. If you want to establish shop in Africa, we try to give you information on what is available, what opportunities are available in which African country, what financing do you need? Do you need a guarantee? Do you need bid bond to bid for business on the African continent,
And
etc.?
that you have that department at Afrexim Bank.
We actually do it, and we sometimes don't want to blow our trumpets, but it's true. There is some corporates that we have taken to different African markets. Egypt has some of the largest manufacturers on the African continent. They are also the largest contractors. Egyptian.
Running out, and we could be here longer. I would just like to ask if anyone of you panelists, do you want to add on what Kuda has just spoken, or you're okay with his answer? Anyone else wants to add on that one?
Just a second. One thing we should notice is that the continent was hit by this trifecta just from the Ukraine-Russian war, and it started in February 2022. But look at where we are today. Our inflation rates are going up, prices are going up, because we depend on those things that are actually produced there. Look at how we're hit hard, where food is concerned, fuel is concerned, and finance is concerned. So if we do have, as Kuda nicely explained to all of us, an intra-African trade, we are going to survive this together. We can.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that. Thank you very much. Let's give her a hand of applause for her response. Thank you so much. And of course, now I would like to ask, oh, I see a hand has been raised. Thank you very much. Oh, okay. There you have it. We have a few questions. I will give the question. Please, can we have a mic to the lady over there with her hand raised. It wasn't question time, but it is now. Thank you so much. You supported us yesterday. You were asking about gender balance. We've got the gender balance today.
Hicho kinaitwa kidokezo tu. Morning everybody, and then thanks for giving me this opportunity. I would like to be a little bit blunt. We like to talk about supporting SME, but really we are not putting that affirmative action that is needed to support SME. We are still exposing them to the same rules and regulations that govern the banks. I remember during my time when we had what they used to call in CRDB, they used to call it Microfinance Company Limited, a kind of a subsidiary to CRDB, and it was dealing with the microfinance issues and the like. Honestly, if we don't separate these people and try to support them, we will always be having this talk, and then we will end there, ask, you be supported, but you could hear here, the support goes to the bigger guys. The support goes to the lower people, the 1 million, the 2 million mandazi, they will remain there. People who are up here, we are not trusted yet. You ask for the money, they give you the terms similar to the, you ask for 300 million, they give you the terms of payment like the one who has asked for 1 million. Are you really supporting this person? No. You are giving opportunity for the bigger one to take the 3 million because you know they know their business. They go to Dubai, they buy their goods, they have that money. This is a good money is coming here. And I'm talking with this facility that is going around now.
Thank you so much, Asante Sana. I'm not sure if that was a question, but I'm going to ask if our representative from CDB wants to respond. Is this a platform? Do you want to respond to this now, or that you'll take it chamber?
Thank you so much. That's a very good feedback. But what I can tell you, I think maybe there's something wrong. We need to catch up after this. Because for CRDB, what I can assure you, we have all these clients segmented, and they have the respective unit head with senior managers and the teams. And these products are known, and then the conditions are not the same. For example, we have individual category of loans. This is catering like what Madam has said, all the way from 1 million up to your level, depending on your needs. We have microfinance. Yes, the subsidiary was not closed, but it has been swallowed within the retail banking space for micro support only. And then you have a senior manager and head of that unit with specific segment which are not similar to the SME. And then from individual to micro, we have SME, but before that we have mid SME. And then we have corporate clients. So the thing is, maybe it depends on the product. And now, let's say, for example, in Zanzibar, we have a specific product called Inuka, which is supported by the government of Zanzibar. It's reaching a lot of individuals. We have already have specific products to support the aquaculture, the fishing, specifically to acquire boats, fiber boats for the same. So for me also in terms of agri, so maybe we need to catch up later.
Yeah,
for
that's a
more
whole
specifics,
event, you know. We'd have to,
and then we can tackle it specifically on the same.
We'd have to organize a whole event just to talk about that. Yes, yes. Sasa. CRDB, that's your next event. We bring it here. Thank you. Can I take a question from this gentleman here? Thank you. We have 10 minutes, so I'm going to be, please make your questions short to the point so we can allow the other people to ask and the panelists to answer. Very strict on time today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Lady, for thinking me. Mine is not a question, actually, it's my observation.
Okay.
We hold the view from the regulators and the implementer from the bank, but you didn't hear from the user.
Right.
So let me put in this way. The world is changed, but still we are looking in traditional way. We are only the continent which use cash society, rather than they going to cryptocurrency, blockchain, and the regulators and the banker, you try to push away those development from ICT, even though you claim with the digitalization in terms of traditional, not the cashless society. So we have a problem around there. I don't know why you don't think that far. Secondly,
who is not thinking that far? The banks or the regulator?
the regulator and the bank implementer.
Okay.
From the perspective of the user. Two, the multinational corporation, they claim since...
Want to respond? Okay. Let me allow you to respond. 1 minute, tafadhali.
Hello, thank you very much for your question regarding cryptocurrency. As regulator, we are aware of that business, but we are just watching. We have not developed any questions. We are still getting experience of other countries what are doing. I know you know the challenge of cryptocurrency. The rate keeps on changing. So we are just watching. We are learning. It is a new technology to us. We cannot jump on the things which still new and come with the regulation which we don't know now. So we are watching. We are aware of it. Anybody in Tanzania who is doing, you just do it at your own risk for time being until the regulation comes. Thank you very much.
You have been told, do it at your own risk. Okay, I will take one last question. I'm really sorry, there are many hands, but Austin has told me, Doris usichelewe hata nusu dakika. So can I ask that everyone who has a question or a comment, and if it's directed to any of these panelists here, let's find time to speak to them after during the tea break, and we'll get our answers. But sir, you already asked a question. Can I give this gentleman here, if it's okay, with all due respect, please, over here, the gentleman with the red tie, 1 minute, and that will be our last question, please. Please, I'm sorry.
Thank you very much. I'll try and do this in 1 minute. My name is Benga Makinde, and I'm the CEO of United Bank for Africa, with presence in 20 African countries. A lot of issues have been discussed, and on the SME, I see the passion that has been expressed by the SME entrepreneurs all over Africa, and the roles that banks are playing to support this sector, which we all agree is suboptimal across countries. But the point is, there is a need for a very serious engagement for banks to support this sector. There is a push from the central bank across Africa, because any country in Africa, I've worked in Benin Republic as a CEO of United Bank for Africa there. I worked in Nigeria for 23 years. I'm in Tanzania now for a year. And the same thing cut across. More than 80% of businesses in Tanzania are SME businesses. So if you don't support that sector, then we have not started.
80%.
80%.
Huge.
So you need to also put structures about governance, about things that will help your businesses to grow for sustainability. That also is very key. We are aware that collaterals are not the way to support SME. They don't have it. They don't have it. So if I'm asking you to go and bring collateral properties, then how do you grow your business? So I don't know, because of time, I'm going to move again very quickly. In the area of ACFTA, that is African Continental Free Trade Zone, in 2018, I started an advocacy in Nigeria on ways to support intra-African trade and growth. Thanks to our colleagues from Afrexim, an initiative that you have been putting in place for over several years, UBA is one of the banks working with Afrexim on the pilot programs on African settlements, that's PAPS, in the West African region, because of our presence in 20 African countries. But there is a conversation that we're all missing out, which I advocated in 2018. What is it? Currency convertibility. We're seeing today that Africans don't trade within themselves of countries and all of that. Can I buy or send products to Kenya from Tanzania and get to pay in Kenyan shillings? Can Kenya send to Tanzania and pay in Tanzanian shillings? Thanks to our brother who spoke about settlement of the net in, how do you settle the net? Dollars. Now, my conversation is this, and thanks to our regulators here. We African countries have our foreign reserves in dollars, in pounds, in euros. The top 10 African countries has over $270 billion in foreign reserves stocked outside Africa. What is the percentage of